Welcome back to the College Football Slate Show here on the 1009 Network. It is week 12 of the college football season. Getting down to the nitty gritty of the season, last 2 weeks of the regular season. It's pre-rivalry weekend, pretty much. A couple rivalry games going on, a couple conference games still, but not the greatest slate. It's week 12 basically, so you know what you get with this week. Welcome back to the College Football Slate Show here on the 1009 Network. It is week 12 of college football, getting down to the nitty-gritty, last 2 weeks of the regular season. Pre-rivalry week, got a couple rivalry games this week, one out in Southern Cal, and then just some conference games to wrap up conference play. Just a typical week 12 for college football this week.
Yeah, and it's the penultimate week of the regular season, which means a lot of the SEC teams are going to play check games, and this year they might actually drop a couple. Looking at you, Texas A&M. So
definitely
might be a very interesting week of $500,000 checks, maybe some losses by the SEC too. I mean, pretty much FCS programs, but we'll see.
Yeah, and there's a couple SEC conference matchups at least. Kentucky and Georgia are playing. Tennessee, South Carolina. I see. Florida Vandy, the exhilarating game based off of Vandy's first SEC win in 26 games, 29 games or something like that.
Tries.
Yeah. So good for them for breaking that streak last week.
Yeah, pushing 30.
Yeah. ACC likes to play some actual matchups. Week 12, NC State, Louisville, Clemson, Miami. Well, Florida State's playing the Raging Cajuns, so that kind of just shut shut me down. But just a typical week 12, like I said.
Yeah, early games pre-Saturday tonight, SMU Tulane. Tomorrow we get two more, South Florida Tulsa, and then San Diego State New Mexico. So that's a couple more background noise games on a Friday. Usually we get better games on Friday than Thursday, but the Thursday games have been better lately. And I think that the SMU Tulane matchup tonight's the matchup of really the whole pre-Saturday slate, honestly, even with the action the last two nights. So that would be a good preview. Speaking
of action, did you see that weather last night at I think it was Western Michigan and Central Michigan?
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's what.
Yeah, winter wonderland, to say the least.
All 7 fans enjoying that show, yeah. I guess you'd say.
If there were students there, they should get their spring tuition paid for. That was insane.
It was a 12 to 10 final. So if you had the over in that, you're an idiot.
Right.
But yeah, like we mentioned, a couple matchups to kick us off at 12. Somewhat of a good matchup. Could have been a ranked matchup. Illinois is going to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. I think Illinois is still fighting for the Big Ten West division championship, and Michigan obviously as well, with their matchup lining up with Ohio State to determine that. It's going to be an interesting game out in Ann Arbor tomorrow morning or Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back home losses for Illinois to kind of fall back to the Chase group in the Big Ten West. Iowa in that group as well. So it went from not a sure thing yet, but Illinois had their own destiny in their hands, and they've kind of fumbled that away. So it's now, I don't know how clear their path is to Indianapolis to face Michigan or Ohio State, but they're going to need a win badly, and it's a tough place to get it done in the Big House. So they're almost 3 TD underdogs. It would be a large order for them to pull this off on the road, but crazier things have happened out in the Big Ten, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely a game to keep an eye on. I forgot who Iowa was playing. I saw it earlier. I scrolled by it. Oh, they're playing Minnesota, so that's a potential game to keep an eye on as well. I think Minnesota's still in contention too, so it's they got like a 3 or 4 way tie. I think Nebraska is still possibly in it.
There's a couple of 3-loss teams in that Big Ten West conversation right now. Yeah.
There are 4 teams at 4-3. And Wisconsin's at 3-4. So I mean, they need a little bit of help, I think, but I think they might have some tiebreakers that they don't win.
Yeah, it's similar to the Big 12 after TCU. There's a lot of teams 3 or 4 conference losses with math to get to the conference championship game.
Yeah, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota are all sitting at 4-3. So all deciding who's going to go get beat by Michigan or Ohio State.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Ohio State's playing Maryland, so whoop-de-doo. They're a 27.5-point favorite. So
Yeah.
pretty much kind of round out the Big Ten. Penn State, who's looking to get back into the top 10, is traveling to Piscataway, New Jersey to play Rutgers and are a 19-point favorite. So
Yeah.
exhilarating matchups in the Big Ten this week.
It's a scrappy Rutgers team, though, up at the half on Michigan. Obviously, the final score kind of indicates how the second half went. But, I mean, that's a team to look out for on the road as we enter, the most dangerous weeks of the year for these top teams.
Yeah. And speaking of dangerous weeks and top teams, a team that everybody thinks is going to keep slipping up, is going to lose. People are hoping they lose. Clemson's hoping they lose. Number 4 TCU is traveling to Baylor at noon. They're currently a 2.5-point favorite. I believe this is one of our pick'em games, so I'm going to save my analysis or results for this game. But it's just another game that TCU needs to go prove. Baylor, possible team they can meet in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I mean, we see this kind of carnage in the Big 12 and the Pac-12, especially this time of year. So, I mean, the spread kind of indicates that maybe this is a spot where, for the really 11th week in a row, TCU is going to be doubted, and they're going to have to go in and prove it. Big step towards their playoff goals last week, locking in a place in the Big 12 championship with that big win at Texas. And they got to go on the road and do it again and just keep reeling the wins off because, like you mentioned, playoff-wise, it's probably going to take a 0 in the loss column. I don't know that a 1 would get them there, especially if that 1 is championship Saturday. So they just got to keep reeling off these wins. They're 3 away now.
Yeah. I would like them to lose personally, but that's just me. I don't know about you.
That would affect our early calendar year plans. Yeah, that would help.
So, just a game to keep an eye on. We mentioned it. Or no, we haven't mentioned it yet, but elsewhere in the Big 12, Kansas State to West Virginia. That's another game that Kansas State needs to win to keep their hopes alive in the Big 12. Right. West Virginia is down bad, pretty much.
Beat OU last week, but yeah, when you zoom out from that, Neil Brown may very well be on his way out. They've got to figure things out. I mean, in normal years, winning against OU is probably enough to save your job, but in a year like this, where OU now sits at 5-5, it's probably not going to do it. So, it'd be a good story, kind of wrap out the year with some big conference wins for West Virginia, but I don't know they can keep winning, even at home.
Yeah. Elsewhere at the noon, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock kind of window, the early window basically, Austin Peay goes to Alabama. Okay. The Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette are traveling to Florida State. Okay, Florida State's a 24-point favorite, and that game is on ESPN3. So do with that information what you would like. Yeah,
there's solid games in between 1 and 3:30, though. Got some mid-major action. Houston, ECU. That should be a good game. Two teams, 6-4. A couple of big games in the Sun Belt. Georgia State going to James Madison. Old Dominion going to App State and our guy Chase Bryce. So, I mean, some decent games in there in the middle. Boston College heading to Notre Dame in a game that matters a lot for our sake and that of North Carolina as well as far as resume. And, your one loss stays winning. So, a little bit light in the noon slate as it's been for a little while now. But some better than usual games in between those traditional windows of noon and 3:30.
Yeah, it's kind of weird seeing games at 1, 2. I mean, I guess you can kind of bridge them over.
Right.
So I don't know, just kind of weird. But pretty much to kick off the 3:30 slate. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Ohio State, Maryland, Penn State, Rutgers, NC State traveling to Louisville. I'm not sure if Malik Cunningham is playing or not. He's still listed as day-to-day.
Pretty beat up after our game, so yeah.
So, I mean, this is a weak 3:30 slate. Holy smokes. I'm looking through it now.
It's pretty thin, too. Yeah.
Texas and Kansas.
Two 6-4 teams.
It's one of our pick'ems because it's so weak, but.
Right, yeah.
Akron, Buffalo, Utah Tech. Utah Tech? Who the hell is that?
No idea. This is getting into.
Yeah. UL Monroe, Troy, Louisiana Tech, Charlotte.
Yeah, it's Pac-12 to the rescue late, thank goodness, because this is not the strongest slate, and it was genuinely a struggle to find 5 games for us to pick momentarily. So,
yeah,
Shout out to the Pac-12 for putting meaningful games in the same week that the SEC beats up on the schools of deaf, blind, and deaf and blind.
I did skip over 3:30. Obviously, Clemson and Miami play. We're a 19-point favorite.
Right. Yeah.
Miami's down
That game
bad.
should not be interesting.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have issues.
Hopefully, Cade gets in some meaningful snaps that aren't just him handing the ball off.
Or him throwing a pick six.
I can't put
no,
much,
I can't.
Like
I know. I'm
stock
just
into that.
bracing you for the tweets.
Oh yeah. Georgia and Kentucky in Lexington. I don't know if it's going to be sleet, snowing, or raining this time, like it was last week against Vandy. But
right.
Another game to watch, basically.
Yeah, Bedlam, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, game that really has no juice now. Oklahoma laying a touchdown and then another half point. They're -7.5. Oklahoma State still ranked 22nd in the nation per the playoff poll. So bit of an interesting spread there. Two teams obviously not where they wanted to be at this point in the season, but it's a big rivalry game that, maybe getting towards the end of it with Oklahoma moving to the SEC in a couple of years along with Texas. So we're going to enjoy it while we can, even if it's two programs that by their own standards are down this year. But, it's a classic one on ABC at 7:30. And, given how weak that middle slate is, we will be grateful for it when it does kick.
Yeah. The over is 66 for that, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah. I mean, points help watchability. So I guess we'll see.
That's true. Like you mentioned, Pac-12 kind of coming to the rescue. We got number 7 USC traveling. If you were listening to me, I am doing air quotes. Traveling to UCLA. They share the same stadium, in case you didn't know. I don't know how you wouldn't. But USC is a 2.5-point favorite. As UCLA or USC needs this win to keep their playoff hopes alive, basically.
Right. Yeah. Shout out to UCLA for figuring out the best way to sell out a game, and that's to tarp off 20,000 seats. So credit to them for making that adjustment and getting a packed house in there, regardless of what the actual capacity is. The big game, the Pac-12, all will probably be on this one out of these late games, just because the rest of these teams have 2 losses. Really, there's not really any playoff contenders going late. So, it's win or be left out for USC, sitting at 9-1 now, and they're gonna have to win one on the road to keep things interesting as far as the playoff goes.
And like we mentioned earlier with TCU, we would very much like for UCLA to win this game.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Chip Kelly, we don't ask for much, but win one for the home crowd and the Tarps.
Win one for the Gipper, whatever that's from. I forgot.
Some Notre Dame thing.
Yeah,
screw them.
Oh, why did I say that? I hate myself. In the ACC, Syracuse and Wake Forest are playing. That game kind of lost a lot of hype as both teams have kind of just hit a tailspin. Both teams are 6-4 after Syracuse started 6-0.
Right.
Or were they 5-0 and then got another? Yeah, they were 5-0 and they got another win. I think. I don't know. Anyway,
right.
Just a game that lost a lot of hype as it was at the beginning of the year. I think people are not happy with Dave Clawson, how their offense is being ran. So who knows what's going on up in Winston-Salem?
I think he's fine. I think it's kind of like a case like Kansas and some other places. They started so well, people just thought that was the new standard, and then reality sets in late October, early November, and now here they are, mid-November at 6-4. So going bowling, pretty good team in the ACC, I think, unranked, but I think a win against Syracuse would change that. So we'll see.
Yeah, in case you are listening, well, I hope you're listening, but my dad just dropped a light bulb in my shower, so there's that. Washington and Colorado are playing.
No.
And then the penultimate
the last game that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, Utah, Oregon, 2 8-2 teams, two teams that, well, I guess preseason, I think I had Utah in my playoff. So, I mean, this is.
I think we all did.
A lot of us did. So I think, unfortunately, the Pac-12 representative, should there be one, will not be Utah with the 2 losses, but they can still play spoiler in conference. And it'd be tough to see Oregon losing back-to-back home games. But, I mean, with Bo Nix's status up in the air, Dan Lanning pretty close to the chest with Bo Nix updates this week. So at least here we are at 4:30 on a Thursday afternoon. So maybe between now and kickoff, we get a clearer picture of what he's looking like health-wise. But for now, it's a massive question mark. And we've seen Cam Rising be ruled out essentially at kickoff once this year already. So that could be another very odd game as far as what QBs are playing. Rising should be fine for this one. They're going to be motivated. They got the big late win over Southern Cal. So them to knock off the top two teams in conference would be a huge accomplishment, even in a year where they're probably looking at Rose Bowl like last season.
Yeah. So, like we mentioned at the top, it's a slate. It's a weekend. It's a weekend before rivalry week. We know it's going to be a lot better next week. We're going to have plenty of games to talk about, plenty of games to bet, plenty of games to pick.
Definitely.
So we just got to get through this week, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's one of the last two. So as it's drawing to
enjoy it while you can.
Yeah. We might do something for bowl season. We'll figure something out. Might do a bowl pool.
Oh, we will. 100%. Yeah.
So you want to get into some picks?
Absolutely. But let them know how we did last week.
Oh, gladly. Well, not gladly for you.
I was about to say, yeah.
Me and Grayson had good weeks. Jacob did not. I went 3-2. I hit LSU, Bama, and UNC. Lost Oregon and Texas. Grayson went 4-1. He hit LSU, Bama, TCU, UNC, lost Oregon. And Jacob went 2-3. LSU, Bama, lost Oregon, Texas, Wake. I am 36-24. Grayson's a game ahead of me, 37-23, and Jacob is 26-24. Pretty much sitting at 500. So I don't know what the percentages are, but I do believe you are probably ahead of us.
Yeah, so I'm a game up with 2 weeks to go. That is probably the least safe lead in sports, but we'll see. Lead. Yeah, tricky slate to pull games from. There's the obvious Pac-12 at and after dark games, but other than that, pretty thin slate. National relevance-wise, at least getting 2 teams in the same building that both are relevant. So once again, we do not have Jacob's picks at the time of recording, but we do have myself and Bailey here, so we'll give you our picks live, and then, of course, the college picks Saturday morning and then Sunday. 24 hours later, we will include Jacob's picks along with ours. First up, though, number 4 TCU, a 2.5-point favorite on the road again in conference, going to Waco to play Baylor. Do you think TCU wins again, Bailey?
I don't want them to, but I want to get my record better on picks. But I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
My morals say Baylor, but logically it says TCU, so I'm going to go with TCU.
Yeah, I think it's tough because, you look at just last week alone, this Baylor team at home lost to Kansas State 31-3. And obviously TCU picking up the huge road win at Texas. But even at the risk of being the same on every pick, I'm going to have to go TCU. I could absolutely see an upset. It's the reason I had TCU last week. The thing that makes the least amount of sense usually happens in the Big 12. And unfortunately for TCU this week, that would be them losing to this Baylor team that just got embarrassed last week at home. So I'm going to stick with TCU and hope they can at least pull it off outright. But I would not be surprised to be talking, who knows, number 12, 10-1 TCU next week. But yeah, I'll stick with you on this one. Go TCU.
Yeah. As long as you lose one or win one, and I lose one and win one, I'll be happy. Can't gain any ground, but can't lose any.
Exactly. Next up, same conference, different teams. Got unranked Texas, 9-point favorite in Kansas, looking to avenge Kansas's stunner last year. That was in Texas, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in Austin.
Do you think Texas gets revenge, or is it the Jayhawks that get a win this week?
We figured out if Johnson was playing, or is he still questionable?
Jalen Daniels has not been confirmed either way.
I don't know why I said Johnson. I was thinking of the TCU wide receiver.
Yeah, so it might be Bean again for Kansas, who's done pretty well in relief. But yeah, we do not know that at this time.
Oh, this is a get-right game for Texas. I mean, they've had an up-and-down season. Revenge a loss from last year. Give me the horns. Go Texas.
Yeah, I was on Kansas early. That wagon kind of fell apart with Jalen Daniels being hurt, but I think that they can shock the world again, at least out in Vegas. I'll take Kansas. No real reason other than every bit of pressure in this one. Texas going on the road after an embarrassing loss at home last week. Their only touchdown was a scoop and score that was more of a gift than anything those guys will give for Christmas, honestly, just watching that game live. Sark's feeling a lot of pressure. Quinn Ewers is just 18 years old, most of it unfair, but feeling a lot of pressure as well as they're kind of jockeying for bowl position. Other than anything else right now, I think there's still math for either one of these teams in the Big 12, but it's dwindling. Give me Kansas with or without Jalen Daniels to control the ground game. Defense isn't great, but if they can slow the game down and play keep away and get some rushing TDs, then they've got a chance outright.
Fair enough.
All right. Back to ranked action to the SEC. Not every team is playing some cupcakes like Tennessee is this weekend. We got number 14 Ole Miss, 2.5-point favorite in Fayetteville, Arkansas, to play the Razorbacks. Who do you think wins this one, Bailey?
Many people are saying that Lane Kiffin is coaching for jobs right now, whether it be if an old Mister retired at Alabama, or Auburn. But I mean, I doubt either one. He probably stays. He's got good talent there, but who knows? Give me Ole Miss. I think they're the better team. They got a stud running back. Arkansas is still struggling. I don't know if KJ Jefferson's out or not again. So give me Ole Miss.
KJ will play, I think last I saw, but I'm also with you. Give me Ole Miss. I realize this team has been up in the top 10 and kind of showed their true colors against LSU, who's now about where this Ole Miss team peaked as far as rankings. But I think 14th in the country is about right for them. They're not going to beat the top teams in the SEC, but Arkansas is certainly not among that group. So even on the road, short number, that feels about right too. Arkansas has definitely struggled without Jefferson on offense, but I mean, last week they held LSU to 13 points. So Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, the running game, like you mentioned, they're going to figure it out, but I think they get it done as Lane Kiffin takes a longer and longer peek at that Auburn job.
Yeah. Definitely a game to watch and keep an eye on.
Right. Moving on, another late game, 8 o'clock, the first of two Pac-12 matchups we'll have. Number 7, USC, the one and only USC, going on the road to the same stadium to play number 16 UCLA. This is huge for the Pac-12. Their last remaining playoff hopeful is Caleb Williams and the Trojans, but they've got to get past DTR and Chip Kelly first. Who do you think wins this one, Bailey?
USC, what happened? Sorry, anytime I see something about USC, I think like that TikTok. Sorry. I'm feeling the same way with this one as I did about TCU.
Yeah.
Logically, I want to say USC. Morals, I want to go UCLA. Yeah. Give me USC. They'll lose in the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really do think one of TCU or USC falls this week, but I don't know. This UCLA team's been up and down. They've shown us good things. They've shown us great things, and then there's just been games where obviously the ones that got beat are just not playing to true potential. The home field advantage for them is even less than the Trojans, which is non-existent. So I don't really factor that in. It might as well be a neutral field. They did sell the place up, like I mentioned. They tarped off 20,000 seats, which that gives you any idea about the actual demand for this game. It's pretty embarrassing. So I don't expect the crowd to be a factor, especially on the UCLA side. So give me Southern Cal to, at the very worst, talent their way through this one and win outright. They're 2-point favorites. Seems about right. So yeah, no playoff craziness, at least with our picks, but I do think, like I said, technically a road game, so I could see one of TCU or USC falling, but I'm not confident enough to fade them on the picks.
Yeah. But don't get it twisted. We want both to lose. So.
Yeah, that'd be sick. I will gladly take a 3-2 weekend picks if those are the two. Last one on the slate for us is another ranked matchup. It's also in the Pac-12. It's firmly after dark, 10:30 Eastern. So, skip the Hawaii game this week. This is the best game we've had at 10:30 maybe all season. Number 10, Utah, 2-point favorite in Oregon against the number 12 Ducks. Think we see a Vegas upset or a rankings upset?
Well, I mean, this is basically it's going off of if Bo Nix is playing, and I think Vegas thinks that Bo Nix is not. But my pick is relying on Bo Nix playing. I'm going with Oregon. Bounce back win at home.
Yeah, it's tough to call these on a Thursday sometimes, especially in college where injury information is scarce and honestly, rightfully so. That's really none of our business. But, for the D-Gens and the talk shows picking games, obviously want to know. But we really don't know. I'm going to have to take the quarterback that I know is playing. That's Cam Rising. This Utah team beat USC in a thriller at home. Whittingham showed he was not afraid of anybody across the field, went for the 2-point conversion, got the win. Rising had to audible a bit, but he got it done. I just think that this Oregon team's maybe a bit crestfallen after last week. You kind of saw their playoff dreams die with that just weird loss to Washington, going for the 4th and 1 on their own 34. I watch Brandon Staley every Sunday. That makes no sense to me. That's how aggressive that was. Bo Nix up in the air, like we mentioned a couple of times now. So even on the road, I'm going to have to go with Utah, what we know here on a Thursday, and hopefully the Utes can spoil another Pac-12 contenders season.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a chance we both go 3-2 or 2-3, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But who knows? We'll get down to the nitty-gritty. I would like TCU and USC to lose. So.
Right.
With that, those are our picks. Do you want to get into the most trustworthy bets that we got out there?
I don't know if trustworthy is the right word, but
hey,
I trust myself with these three. So we'll
winning
see.
Record.
Yes, that's always big. How are we looking coming into week 12 though?
I went 1-2. Yeah, 1-2 last week. I hit Miami money line, like you called me an idiot for doing, basically. Not verbatim.
I said the game was too gross. Whatever.
I mean, that's basically
which facts.
But loss on App State and LSU. Grayson went 2-3, hit UNC plus 3.5, and Florida State -7. Lost Oregon -13.5, obviously. And Jacob only hit Ole Miss plus 13.5. He lost Oregon and LSU. I am the only one with a winning record sitting at 18-14-1. Grayson is 16-7, and Jacob is 10-15-1. There is no need to discuss percentages or first place, second place, or third. We know who's in first right now, so don't get it twisted.
I'm 16-17.
Is that the right math?
You said 16-7.
16-17.
That's fine. Bailey above 500. I could get there with a good week this week. Jacob, he's trying his best, we think. I will get my shots back at Bailey here in a little bit when we do NFL, where, different story. But right now we're doing college, and Bailey is the king of the college bets. I'm going to start. Give me Kansas +9. I don't understand. I get it's a big brand. I get it's, Quinn Ewers, they're bound to bounce back. Are they? They're coming off 3 points on offense at home. And now they're going to go on the road to Kansas, whose defense has been a turnstile at times, a lot of the times. I would feel much better about this with Jalen Daniels playing. It'd be probably 7 or 6.5, I would assume, with him confirmed active. But as of now, we don't have that yet. So I think either QB in Kansas is capable of scoring enough to keep this close enough to where they get inside this number. I'd love to see an outright upset just because of how great the Twitter reaction would be. But if you're going to give me 9 points with Jayhawks at home, I will take them.
Yeah, I hope you win the bet, but not the pick. I'm going with Michigan and Illinois over 41. Um, I mean, 28-14 ball game gets you there, basically. So, which I can see Illinois scrapping off a couple touchdowns. They got a pretty good offense. Um, Michigan's obviously got a pretty good offense with their rushing game. So I could see a 28-14 game, even if Michigan gets into the 30s and Illinois scraps in 2 touchdowns. That just seems like an easy pick for me. Give me Michigan, Illinois over 41.
Yeah, I'm gonna dip into the ACC with this next one. Just classic good team versus bad team. Give me North Carolina laying the 21 points at home against Georgia Tech. I think this would be a look-ahead spot for North Carolina if NC State had a pulse. Without Devin Leary, they do not. So I don't see that being an issue with what they've got on the forefront before a matchup with Clemson and Charlotte. So, this may be close early. North Carolina comes out a little sloppy against a lesser opponent after a thriller on the road at Wake Forest last week. But Drake May and Josh Downs will do enough. The ground game will supplement as well. This offense was overwhelmed Georgia Tech, who this is pretty much their Super Bowl, honestly. Most hyped they'll be for a game the rest of the year. I don't expect them to be in a bowl game either. So this is pretty much it for them. So, might not be a blowout from kickoff to quadruple zeros, but I think this UNC offense, by the end of it, will be up by 3 scores.
Don't hate that one. Georgia Tech helped me out last week, so I hope it happens the same for you this week. Next one I'm going with, I was looking at spreads, and this one didn't make much sense to me. Wisconsin and Nebraska, with Nebraska at home. Wisconsin's sitting 10.5 point favorites in this game, so both teams fired their coach this year. Both are just mediocre teams. I do believe Casey Thompson is playing, so give me Nebraska plus 10.5.
Yeah, I don't think those two teams are 10 points apart wherever they play. So if you're getting the home team, I like that even more, plus the extra hook to help you should you need it. I'm going to the SEC now, and I've made a couple jokes about these cupcake games, but I'm going to be involved in one of them. Give me LSU minus 15 at home to a UAB team that is winless on the road this season against the likes of Liberty, Rice, Western Kentucky, and Florida Atlantic. There's some respectable teams in there, but they don't hold a candle to LSU in any form or fashion. So give me LSU with the place in Atlanta booked against Georgia already. No pressure there. I think at home, again, might get interesting early to come out flat, a little complacent, but by the end of it, LSU gets some point for these playoffs to be the first 2 losses if they hope to make it. So I think they're not going to be interested in letting this UAB team hang around for very long, and I fully expect this to be closer to 3 or 4 scores than 2 and an extra point. So LSU minus 15.
Yeah, I just don't see how Vegas set that to that spread. I would have thought that LSU would have been like a 21, 22, 23 something point favorite like we see outside of some of these other SEC G5 games. Just a weird spread. I don't blame you for hammering that at all. My last one is I'm going with a high-octane offense versus a terrible defense, and that terrible defense is based out of the 803. They play under a dead or inside a dead cockroach. Their team is coming down from the mountains with that moonshine. They're going to be banging Rocky Top. Give me Tennessee over 44.5. Jalen Hyatt is going to run all over this defense in his return to Columbia after South Carolina nor Clemson really offered him. So, and we saw what South Carolina did against Florida last week. So give me Tennessee team over 44.5.
I like that a lot. There should be a lot of points, and they should all be from the road team. So don't mind that one in the slightest.
So yeah, like Jacob, like Grayson said, we will get Jacob's bets as well before. One last thing that I got before we stop talking about college and move to the NFL. And since this one will come out at noon, we're going to get into a little horse racing. You ready for this?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Tell the people.
So for my birthday last year, my aunt got me a share or two of a racehorse. pretty cool little deal. I mean, you get to see behind the scenes information about horse growing up, racing, practicing, all that good stuff. This one, she's a 2-year-old filly, is what a female racehorse is called. Racing in her first race tomorrow in Gulfstream, which is in Florida. Post is 123. She's currently sitting at 6-5, her odds. So I will be hammering that, of course, because why not bet on your own horse? So if you dabble in horse racing, go check it out. First race, we're looking to go 1-0 and win the Kentucky Derby in a couple years.
Yeah, you can't win every race. You don't win the first one. So I'll be involved in that as well because any excuses to bad horses, why the hell not?
It's in Florida, right? I don't know why I just tripped out.
Oh yeah, it's in Florida.
Okay. Yeah. Gulfstream just sounds Floridian, so.
Right. So yeah, that's the college slate plus some inside information in the horse racing scene for tomorrow. That is Friday the 18th. So if you want to jump in on that with us, then hopefully we will all watch Bailey's stake in the horse come through for us, and then we'll keep it rolling into Saturday. And
yeah, the horse's name is Baltic, by the way. I did not say it at all.
That matters.
Baltic. I think she's in the 4th post, so 6-5 odds. Be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, Baltic 6-5. Get it while you can, above even money, and I think we will all sweat that one out together and get a winner from it. So that's college, a little bit of horse racing. We'll recap all this, let you know how Baltic does on Twitter at the 1009, app on Spotify, same as usual on YouTube as well. Back this week on there. Last week, the thunderstorm pretty much ended any chances of me uploading a 40-minute video, let alone 2. So back live and in color this week on YouTube as well. That's just the 1009 podcast over there. So whatever form you get us through, we appreciate it. And we're about to hit stop and get into NFL.
There she is.